The book of Judges is primarily about living in the land after the people have gone in under the leadership of Joshua and defeated some of the other peoples there. The beginning of the book records the decline of Israel's political fortunes and their faithfulness to Yahweh. The people have not obeyed Yahweh, and so Yahweh will no longer drive out the enemy before them, but are given over to their enemies. However, Yahweh will raise up judges or deliverers to rescue them. By the end of the book of Judges, there is idolatry all over the place. The Levites are serving in shrines where other gods are worshipped. Dan conquers Laish and establishes worship of other gods. Throughout the book, we have the repeated refrain, "In those days there was no king in Israel. All the people did what was right in their own eyes." As the book of Samuel opens, the period of the judges is coming to an end. Samuel himself is seen as pretty much the last of the judges, but also a prophet and seer, a priest, although not one of the Levites. He's from the tribe of Ephraim. And the themes in Samuel are Yahweh raises up and he pulls down. There is a theme of reversal where Hannah is raised up over Peninnah. Eli and the sons are replaced by Samuel. David replaces Saul, and David overcomes Goliath. There is also the choosing of David over elder brothers, a theme we have seen before, particularly in the book of Genesis, where it is the younger that the blessing comes through and not the oldest. We can see Hannah's song as the controlling theme of the book. So Hannah prayed and cried, "My heart exults in the Lord, my strength is exalted in my God. My mouth derides my enemies, because I rejoice in my victory. There is no Holy One like the Lord, no one besides you, there is no rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly, let not arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty are broken, but the feeble gird on strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, but those who were hungry are fat with spoil. The barren has borne 7, but she who has many children is forlorn. The Lord kills and brings to life. He brings down to Sheol and raises up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low. He also exalts. He raises up the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the ash heap, to make them sit with princes and inherit a seat of honor. This is a constant theme of reversal. The Lord is able to overcome those who are arrogant and mighty, and lift up those who are down and poor and of little fame. This also signals the coming of political change and the role of kingship in the last verse. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the power of his anointed. At this time, when Samuel is brought and dedicated to the tent of meeting at Shiloh, Eli is the priest at Shiloh with his sons Hophni and Phinehas. But the sons have become corrupt. Eli has not stopped them. And this is basically a theme that has continued over from the book of Judges. Specifically, they do not seem to know the Lord. They are simply fulfilling a job. They are not giving proper attention to God. They do not follow the instructions regarding their proper share of the sacrifice. Instead, they take the fat for themselves, the best for themselves. Eli's sons were cursing God, and Eli does not stop them. And they had sex with women who served at the meeting tent's entrance. Because of this, the line of Eli and his priesthood will be replaced with another line, and eventually that will be the line of Zadok. We saw in Joshua 18:1 that the tent of meeting is set up at Shiloh once the people enter the land. But throughout the books of Samuel, the Shiloh tent of meeting will eventually be replaced with the Jerusalem temple. Samuel himself is a transition figure. He serves at Shiloh under Eli, but is established as a prophet. And the Lord appeared again at Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel at Shiloh by the word of the Lord. In contrast to Eli and his sons, Samuel is a great spiritual leader, the most important since Moses. And in 1 Samuel 7, he calls the people back to the true worship of Yahweh. There is at this point a crisis regarding the Ark of the Covenant. The Israelites go out to battle against the Philistines but are defeated. In desperation, they decide to carry the Ark of the Covenant into battle with them, but it is captured and taken to a series of Philistine cities at which it causes lots of problems. And the Ark ends up in Kiriath Jearim, the west of Jerusalem, at the house of Abinadab with his son Eleazar in charge. Now the crisis with the Philistines is critical. When Shiloh fell and the ark was captured, there seems to have been a need for a new political structure. What is often called the Confederacy of Tribes cannot really deal with the Philistine threat. Centralization of worship was needed as well to show that there is one God over the many gods of Canaan. In chapter 8, the people make a request for a king. And it is interesting to see what Eli was doing, not stopping his sons from doing wrong. So Samuel seems to have a similar problem. Samuel has two sons, Joel and Abijah, and they were judges in Beersheba. But his sons did not follow in his ways, but turned aside after gain, and they took bribes and perverted justice. So at this point, the elders of Israel gather together and come to Samuel. And using this truth about his sons, they ask Samuel to appoint a king over them, like the other nations. And Samuel's not happy about this, and he prays to the Lord. But the Lord says, "Listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them." And here we see a somewhat ambivalent attitude towards kingship. So in chapters 7 and 8, Samuel leads Israel to victory over the Philistines. He also opposes kingship and warns of the implicit evil of monarchy. At the same time, in 9 and 10, Saul is appointed king by Samuel with Yahweh's approval and confirming signs. Further on in chapter 10, however, there is a repeated warning from Samuel. And in chapter 11, Saul proves himself in battle and is made king publicly. In chapter 12, Samuel makes a farewell address with a Deuteronomic emphasis. That is, if you will follow the commands of the Lord will bless you. But if you turn aside from worship of the one true God and do injustice, then there will be curses. So you see, there's this sort of back and forth. There's, do we really want a king? But then confirming Saul as king, repeated warning, Saul proves himself. And here in the farewell address, we have that warning. But when you saw that King Nahash of the Ammonites came against you, you said to me, no, but a king shall reign over us, though the Lord your God was your king. See, here is the king whom you have chosen, for whom you have asked. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you will fear the Lord and serve him and heed his voice and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, and if both you and the king who reigns over you will follow the Lord your God, it will be well. But if you will not hear the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then the hand of the Lord will be against you and your king. There is, in fact, a kind of ambivalence towards the king throughout the Bible. In Exodus 15, it declares that Yahweh will be king forever. And in 19:6, Israel is created as a priestly kingdom, and in a sense the whole people share in responsibility to rule. Deuteronomy 17 allows for a king, but has firm safeguards in place. Judges 8, Gideon refuses to be made king. And yet in other places in the book of Judges, there was no king in Israel and everyone did what was right in their own eyes, and this is seen as a problem. In 1 Samuel 8, kingship is seen as a rejection of Yahweh as king, because there is the possibility of abuse. In 1 Samuel 9 and 11, Yahweh chooses someone to rule, and the result is deliverance. In 1 Samuel 12, kingship is seen as a rejection of Yahweh, but this need not be the end. This need not be fatal. In 2 Samuel 7, a covenant was made with David for his descendants to be kings. And Psalm 72 speaks of an ideal king, a king who does justice and brings prosperity. However, in 1st and 2nd Kings, most of the kings from Solomon onward bring about the paganization of Israel, the worship of other gods. In Zephaniah, there is an affirmation that Israel's hope lies in the fact that the real king, Yahweh, is coming among them. In Jeremiah 23, etc., there is a promise that one day Israel will have a king who lives up to a positive vision of a king, a Messiah. In Isaiah 55, there is a vision of a kingly people. An entire people will have the kind of covenant and vocation that is applied to David. And in Ezekiel 34, Yahweh will be the shepherd of his people.